Well, here we are, round one of this new 2000-year MR Thumpercross Series, kicked off in the scenic valleys of Cheltenham in Staffordshire. Full lineup of riders, including number 68 here, Brian Wheeler, the former Grand Prix rider and, of course, Grand Prix mechanic, trying his luck at MR four-stroke racing. Nice to have him with us. So race one of this expert class came onto the line. We also had another two new riders into the series for this year. Look out for them, Carl Belfield and Sean Grosvenor, the former AMCA champion. But it was Ricky Priest on that all-orange KTM, a change from Yamaha's from last year onto the Austrian machinery. He led them away. Number 11 it is, Priest. And looking very much a winner at the moment around this deep, sandy circuit. Very technical. So as they battled for the points, expert race one, and this track will start to rough up. Lee King, you remember, on the number one plate from last year, unable to catch this man at the moment, Ricky Priest, as he manhandles this Austrian four-stroke KTM, and a bike that KTM are expecting to take the World Motocross Championship this year with Joel Smets, the former champion. So as the battle through 52 there, takes a little bit of a dump in the sand, picks it back up again. That's, of course, Kerry Pallow. Not the best way to start your season, Kerry, by sampling soil here at Cheltenham. But it's a very, very technical track, as you can see. Down the big hill sections into the deep sand. But that is Ricky Priest on course to take heat one here. Craig Prattley, 69 there. That's Sean Grosvenor, the former AMCA rider that we spoke of earlier. As number 4 just went through there. Of course, that's series organiser Stuart Penny. Kerry Pallow back on the bike and going quite well again, as the rest of the field fought for those positions. And of course, positions make points. They add together after 3 races, and at the end of the day, someone will end up standing on top of the rostrum. And the way this young man is going at the moment, number 11, here he is, Ricky Priest. I feel sure he will be standing on the top step. So on the KTM to take the checkered flag here in race one at Cheltenham, round one of this new millennium MR Thumpercross Series, sponsored by MR Seals Kits. But in race 2, it was Priest again that led them away, but Craig Prattley wasn't too far behind this time. Neither was Lee King and Carl Belfield. And as the 400cc mounted KTM rider attempted to get away, former champion Greg Hansen, number 3, and 99 there, Craig Prattley, just going through our picture. Prattley was beginning to close on the men in front. Race 2 really wasn't going to go too easily for young Ricky Priest. He'd had it easy in race 1, as the rest of the field made their way through, trying to pick up those valuable points. Number 22 there, battling hard for a high position, and that, of course, was Wayne Hansen, the former junior champion. So as Priest began to extend his lead, Prattley began to close. Lee King was also in the hunt to try and pick up some maximum points to retain that number 1 plate for this year. But it was going to be hard. So as the 400 KTM started to romp away with this one, Priesty thinking he was on for another easy win, and we were looking back behind him because the 99 bike of Craig Prattley was beginning to close as the rest of the field duly followed around behind these two. There is Prattley going through with Lee King behind him on that 501cc Husenberg. Mostly Yamahas here in the MR Thumpercross, with the occasional KTMs now and the Husenbergs and Husqvarnas. Stuart Penny, number 4, finding the start of this season not as easy as previous seasons. The standard of rider into the class, into this MR Thumpercross expert class, now growing year by year, as Priesty out in front. But Priesty didn't stay there because the machine started to give him a problem. Craig Prattley came through to take the win, and also the over result from Priest. From Belfield Grosvenor, Greg Hansen could only manage 34 points here at round 1. Well, between home racing, the MR Thumpercross boys decided to make a couple of international forays into France this year. and their first trip was to Plouan in Normandy in France. There's Marshal Brians, the president of the St. Briard Club, who they will be visiting later. Alan Deere there. Oh, your ear's cold, Alan. Oh, it's the noise, I see. Anyway, the boys were here. It's international time for MR Thumpercross Racing. Stuart Penny, number 4, of course, series coordinator. He works so hard to ensure that everybody gets to where they should go. So race 1 on the line. It'll be interesting to see what the lads can do. They raced here last year, and Stuart Penny's got a great start there at the front on that number 4 Yamaha, the 426 machine, with a few little added goodies to it. Ricky Priest, number 11, away at the front on that 400cc 4-stroke KTM. So Priest managing to sort out his ignition problems from Cheltenham, but there he is, showing the French exactly how it should be done. And there is, of course, our old friend Stuart Penny. And Stuart, you remember last year in his second trip to France in St. Briard in Brittany, had quite a nasty fall. That's Adam Hooper there, of course, the man from MR Sealed Kits, the sponsor behind the series. Greg Hansen, number 3. Well, a problem there for number 2. No wheels on my wagon. Ricky Priest there deciding to take the running gear off his 252-stroke and put it onto his 4-stroke. Nevertheless, race 2 then. Priesty again out there in front on the orange bike. These KTMs certainly looking good for this year. Keep a watchful eye out in this race for the Frenchman, Jérôme Teiche. Very, very quick lad, of course, Patrice Adam. So we're looking at them as they come through. The rest of the MR boys, you can tell the British riders, they're the ones with the MR Sealed Kit bibs on. But Ricky Priest, obviously finding that the change of running gear on the bike from the 252-stroke was helping his cause no end around this French track. He was way out in front. We're looking back behind him. There's the number 3 bike. Oh, and that was Greg Hansen, almost getting slung off the side of it. And there's Greg's nephew, Wayne Hansen, number 22, the former MR Junior A champion. Greg going through. 23 there. Now, that is one of the French riders, as is number 1. Now, that is Jérôme Teiche. There is Adam Hooper, 185. Adam managing to get his wheels off the ground. But Ricky Priest was on a flyer. This young man, formerly a British 125 rider. There, of course, chasing him, number 3, Greg Hansen, the former British 125 champion. So the French rider there, Jérôme Teiche, behind him on the 23 bike, as the rest of the field battle their way through the French up and down hills here. Typical French track. Fourth there, of course, our old friend Stuart Penny. And the lads all the way over from different parts of the UK here in France, enjoying the hospitality of the French club. This now becoming quite a regular thing each year for the MR boys, and they've got another trip which we'll be looking at some footage of later in this video from, of course, St. Briard in Brittany. So as they dealt with the Wayne Hansen, they're going through 22 with the ever-increasing bumps and ruts that are beginning to show up on the circuit here. It's a superb circuit, and for those of you that have not come to ride here, you should do next year for sure. Ricky Priest then on that 400cc KTM in dominant form. So was the young French rider, Jérôme Teiche, number 23. He was really showing the rest of the way around the circuit. Of course, Patrice Adam, the president of the St. Briard Club. So number 1 it was then, Teiche then, that took the final race of the day and the trophy here. So Priest it was that took the overall result, no doubt, with Hansen, Patrice Adam and Howard Stanfield rounding out that top 5 here in France. Well, it's a big welcome to round 2 of the MR Thumpercross here, Winchester, England. And we caught up with the defending champion, Lee King, and asked him about his new bike and his aims for this year's championship.
Yeah, the bike's really good at the moment. It's a new bike, it's totally different. It's a lot lighter than last year's, but everything seems to be going great with it. Hopefully, at the moment, just get as many points as I can, and mid-season, start coming strong. come off a couple of weeks ago, which put me back a bit. So today I'm hoping to just get as many points as I can, then come strong through the year.
Well, the task won't be so easy as it has been in the past, with a lot of newcomers to the series. 68 here. This is Brian Wheeler, former mechanic and top Grand Prix rider, making a return to active riding. Stuart Penny, number 4, one of the main coordinators, number 66 there in the background, and that's Kevin Reid trying to get his bike started. Race 1 then of the experts gets underway. Number 15 it is that gets the whole shot. That's Richard Phillips from High Wycombe on a Yamaha 426. A lot of riders on the Yamahas and a lot of riders on this new bike. 26cc higher than last year's 400. And 99 there, that is Craig Prattley. Almost off the track for young Craig, another 2-stroke convert to 4-stroke racing. Rode British Championships for a long time on 2 strokes. Was a very good schoolboy rider. But it's number 3 there back in 2nd place, and that's the former champion Greg Hansen. 69 it is that leads them through, and by my reckoning that should be Sean Grosvenor, the current AMCA champion. So, number 4, Stuart Penny. Number 20 behind him there, that's David Lee from Hatton. But it's 69, Sean Grover, that has the lead at the moment here in Winchester. A good start to the season for this young lad. Nice to see him racing under the ACU flag for a change. So, it is Grosvenor then that leads them around. We're looking back, that was number 3 in 2nd place. 15 still is Phillips, chasing that man in front, Greg Hansen. The battles are on here, 99, and of course that is Craig Prattley. There's the race leader. We're looking back for 2nd. It should still be number 3, and indeed it is. Yeah, Greg Hansen. Phillips is still in 3rd. Hansen, of course, the former British 4-stroke and 125 champion. Believe it or not, he's also a former New Zealand 4-stroke champion as well. Number 11, and that's Ricky Priest with Stuart Penny behind him. So the action is really hot and furious. There's Brian Wheeler, 68. Didn't get a good start. So there is Hansen. I think Hansen now has the lead. I'm not at all surprised. Phillips going through, but where is Craig Prattley? The answer is right there. This boy has scythed his way up through the field from a terrible start. And that was the cameraman just getting knocked over. But he's okay. Pick the camera back up again. But there he is, Craig Prattley, 99, from Finstock in Oxfordshire. Up now, I think, into about 3rd place. May well have taken 2nd. I think he has. 62 coming down the hill, that's Howard Stanfield. Number 4, Stuart Penny, series coordinator, right behind him. Stuart, not a good start to the season at the moment. Recovering, I think, from a little bit of injury. There's the checkered flag. It goes out to number 3. Greg Hansen then takes first blood here at round 2 in Winchester of this MR Thumpercross Series. Remember, it's all 4 strokes. And there's Greg on the line, about to come out for race 2. Man that finished 2nd, 99 there, Craig Prattley. So here we go. Gate about to drop. All 4-stroke bikes in. No 2 strokes allowed in this series. And most of them, I must admit, are either Yamahas or KTMs, with the occasional Husenberg and a Husqvarna. They're all getting caught up with each other at the top of the track. It's very rough. It looks like number 5, Graham Beale, that may well have taken the lead down the hill there. But this track did indeed get very rough, and I can say that from personal experience because I actually rode in the Junior B race. And I've not been the same since. It's 99 then that leads, Craig Prattley. There's number 1, Lee King, had a poor result in race 1. Perhaps he can do better here in race 2. And number 3 there, Greg Hansen. Well, not a good start for him this time. He'll have to work hard if he wants to get back to the front. But that young man, I feel sure, will have something to say about that. That's Brian Wheeler, 69, behind him in 2nd place. There is King, there is Hansen, and number 5 right behind him, Graham Beale, also putting the pressure on. But Hansen is going to have to go. Doesn't have too many laps to catch up, but this is the young man that's holding on to it at the moment, and he's on to the last lap, and look at that young man behind him. Hansen up to 3rd place. That is Brian Wheeler behind him. A return to racing this year for Wheeler, and Wheeler's taken it. Wheeler, the older of the 2 men, a mechanic for Holt JCB Kawasaki, used to be a top-class Grand Prix rider, retired to become a spannerman. Now he's back on the bike and he hasn't lost any of that speed. Hansen's still 3rd. I think that's where he's going to stay to the checkered flag. Here these 2 are. It's still Wheeler and Prattley, 69 and 99, both on the 426 Yamahas. Wheeler's going to take this. What a surprise. Brian Wheeler. Prattley has a look around the outside, but he's not going to do it. It is Brian Wheeler then. That's the first race he's won for some years, I can tell you. He'll certainly be well happy with that. So Hanson comes home in third place to go with his win in race 1. So race 3 comes onto the line. There you are, Craig Prattley, number 99. Can he win this one? Here they go, someone's got stuck on the gate. So who's it going to be up the inside? It looks like Hanson, maybe number 17 round the outside. That would be Gary Woolham if it is, but it's Hanson, I think, that's taken the whole shot. Very rough now, the track, as you can see, and a few people getting themselves into a right Tiswas. That, I think, is number 5 caught up in the ropes. If it is, it's Graham Beale, and it is Graham Beale. Well, you won't go too far, Graham, like that. You're going to have to wait and be patient while he gets away. Somebody else still well and truly wrapped up as well, and that's number 41, I think it is. And by my reckoning, that should be Gary Morrison. So this is the man that leads, number 3, Greg Hanson. Brian Wheeler in second place, the winner of race 2. Where is 99? There is Sean Grosvenor, number 69. A couple of good results so far for the MCA man. There's 15. Well, of course, that is Richard Phillips from High Wycombe. Here is 99. Craig Prattley almost, I think, in a position maybe to take the win here, but he's got one more man to beat. That's number 3, Greg Hanson. Brian Wheeler back there in third, 69. Where is Hanson? And the answer is there. And look where Prattley is, right behind him now. So we may have a really good scrap to the line between these two. Hanson, last lap to go. Around the top end of the circuit, it'll disappear. Hanson leads, number 3 from 99, Craig Prattley. The Oxfordshire-based rider looking to make his mark here in 4-stroke racing today. In amongst the back markers already. Hanson, a very experienced campaigner, has won this championship more than once. Prattley has never won it at all, but has certainly had his fair share of gongs and medals in schoolboy and adult racing. So 99 Prattley, keep an eye on these two here. Prattley's having a look up the inside. Can he make it through? Yes, he has. What a beautiful overtaking move from young Prattley. Hanson comes back and in Prattley shuts the door. This is going to be the checkered flag then, and finally a race win for Craig Prattley here in Winchester. He'll be happy with that result. They'll be celebrating at Finstock tonight for that. We caught up with Craig afterwards and asked him about that race.
Made a terrible start and really made it hard work for myself. But I just managed to get on him with a lap to go and just had to try and get down the inside of him somehow on the last lap, and I managed it right at the corner before the last one and just sneaked through. I'm feeling good with the 4th stroke, and this is a brilliant series that they're running, so I'm pleased to be leading it.
So with that win in the last race, Prattley takes the overall result from Greg Hanson second, also with a win. Brian Wheeler, third, 38 points, also with a win from Fred Sparks and Howard Stanfield. Well, Junior A's onto the line for their races. And we should see some sparks fly here as they head up that very long start straight uphill into the left-hand bend. And who is it that's going to get the all-important first corner? Whoa, all into each other as they always do. Keep a watchful eye out on 127. Very, very quick this young man is. Brett Henson. Someone already decided to stick it on the floor, but they're through quite safely. That's an off-cambered corner there, so it's not... There he is, Henson, quite expectantly leading through. Brett's a lad that I think we're going to see regularly on the rostrum this year. 199, Gary Stevens behind him there in second spot. Gary from Warminster as the rest of the field come through, 3:01 there. And according to my information, that should be Rob Foden from Oxfordshire. So 127 leads it in this Junior A race. We're looking back behind in second place. 175 looks to be the man there now in second spot. And that should be James Barrett from St Queen, Jersey. So we're getting lads coming from all over the place now. Someone's decided to unceremoniously dump it on the ground there. And he will be a star throughout this video now for doing just that. So 175 has second place at the moment, behind Brett Henson as the rest of the field come through, scrapping for those remaining places. 103 there amongst that group, Mark Taylor from Kingswood, but 127 then, Brett Henson leads it. Looking back behind him in second place, 164, I don't think he's second place, but I'll give him a mention anyway. That's Phil Matthews from Knoll in Avon. But that part of the corner, you can see it digging up there, that rut there. In fact, we had a few instances of riders getting hooked up in that rut, and one rider in particular decided to go over his handlebars and knock me straight off the place. He headbutted me right in an area of your anatomy that you wouldn't want to be headbutted with a crash helmet on, and it was painful, even days afterwards. But nevertheless, not to worry. I kept filming. Race 2 then, from these junior A's, or these next race we should say. Got onto the line. Brett Henson, the winner of race 1. Who was going to get that all-important first corner in race 2? Well, they bunched up. One or two of them colliding with each other. It's very, very tight up there. And you drop down into this right-hander, which is off camber, quite rutted, so you'll see a few of them drift wide, may even hook themselves up with the ropes. But they all seem to have safely got through here on this Junior A race. 167 there in amongst that group at the moment. That's Keith Best from Uckfield. And we're looking for the leader, 175. It looks to be James Barrett, the man from Jersey, that leads them through. It is nice to have these lads coming off from Jersey, but he's actually chasing. He's in second place because he's chasing 127 once again, Brett Henson. We just saw a glimpse of Brett, but there he is, confirmed as the race leader here in this second Junior A race. This is a lad, I feel sure, that will be up into the experts for next year if he carries on like this. So as they sorted themselves out here in this Hampshire circuit, I myself had a little ride in the Junior B's, 2 races. That's all I could manage. A plod round would be the best way to describe how I rode. But after all, I am 50 years of age and haven't really competitively ridden for the best part of 10 years now. 127, Henson it is, that led this second race round. Back behind him, 175, the man from Jersey, going great guns at the moment, James Barrett. 168, don't discount this man because he's not slow. Chris Brown from Western Supermare. And the battles were on right down through the field. 183 there, just going through to complete another lap. That's Mark Kingdom. Now Mark from North Devon, so there's the race leader. Henson it is. Second place man, once again, still 175. And that's, of course, James Barrett. 168. Back in third place here at the moment, Chris Brown, former AMCA 4-stroke rider, finished 8th in 1999. Moving across here to this MR Thumpercross Series, which, as you know, is growing rapidly every year, becoming more and more professional. 179 there, back in fourth place at the moment, Mark Culliford from Street and Somerset. So the checkered flag went out once again to 127, Brett Henson. Certainly a man on a mission. Henson took the over result, 3 wins. Brown, Tame, Kingdom and Partington rounding out that top 5. Well, it's a big welcome here to Dale in Pembrokeshire, that's southwest Wales, for this round of the MR Thumpercross Series. All 4-stroke machines, as you can see, and generally most of them being Yamahas. No surprise. Number 4 there, that was Stuart Penny. These are the expert riders, 3 races. This is race 1, and as they get off the line, favourites Greg Hansen are here, along with Ricky Priest and Craig Prattley, and we've already got a coming together. That's number 2, that's Nathan James. Certainly not a good start for his first race of the day, but it's number 3, Greg Hansen, then the former MR and British 4-stroke champion, that leads them away with number 118, Ricky Priest, back there in second place, and then it's Craig Prattley, number 99. Ricky Priest not on his KTM. Problems once again with the electrics, getting a borrowed Yamaha to ride here today, and I don't know, that just seems to be a major problem with that bike at the moment, but it only seems to be affecting young Ricky Priest, and the World Motocross team, that's the KTM team, are having not the same kind of troubles. Number 5 here, that's Graham Beale, having his own little war with number 81, I think it is, just going through there. We're looking back through the field, and as we pick up a few of the lower ranked riders, we look back to the front, and once again it's Hansen, the man that keeps retiring but keeps coming back. A change in second place, because up goes to second Craig Prattley, 99. There's number 1, Lee King, the defending champion. Took it from Hansen last year. Number 65 going through there, Carl Belfield from Buxton, a former top schoolboy rider. But it was Hansen that took no prisoners whatsoever in race 1. He came through to take the win from Prattley. Third place then for that man, 118, Ricky Priest on the Yamaha. So the expert race 2 came down onto the line. As the gate dropped, all eyes were at the front once again to see who it would be that would get that all-important hole shot. Dale here in Pembrokeshire, a different location to the original track, but we've had such heavy rain over the last few days here in Great Britain, the organiser having to change venues. But a change here at the front, because that looks very much like 81 that's got the lead. James Smith, Hanson behind him, number 3, Greg Hanson. Looking back a little bit further, and as number 55 there comes through your picture, Gary Henson. So Gary having a reasonable ride, mid-pack at the moment. Track here, as you can see, quite dry, but it's a change at the front because Greg Hanson, winner of race 1, has gone through and taken that all-important lead. He's on course to take major points here again in expert race 2. And everybody seems to ask, is there anything anybody can do to stop that man from winning? 65, Carl Belfield from Buxton there, fighting for top points at the moment. Carl, a former top youth rider, turning his hands to now 4-stroke racing. So 118, Ricky Priest chasing the race leader, number 3, Greg Hanson. Said Ricky not on his familiar KTM, having some kind of electrical problems with the ignition at the moment, but I'm sure they're going to get that one sorted out. Someone's lent him a bike to race here. So Hanson, number 3 there from High Wycombe, rides with the Farnham Royal Club, the Yamaha 426. It's one of the new bikes, the same CC of bike that world champion Andre Bartolini is riding this year in the 500cc World Motocross Series. The same as his teammate Monique Bavorts. But Greg Hanson then clearly out there in the lead. The battle is on for second place because Ricky Priest has got a problem. Lets Craig Prattley come through. I think Ricky has a problem. He's got a rear wheel puncher, so he's going to have to back it off rather than break up that back wheel. That's a shame because he was going so well. As Lee King comes through, number 1 on the MRT Husaberg 500. You don't see many of these now, Husabergs, mainly Yamahas and KTMs in 4-stroke racing. As 65 picks another lap up. Carl Belfield, the Buxton-based lad, going well here at the moment. But number 1 with 62 behind him, and that's Howard Stanfield from Andover. 18, that's Rob Samways. It looks like he's been off that bike. Handlebars are more in a road race style at the moment, so obviously he'll have to go back to the pits and get that one tightened up. As Nathan James, number 2, remember he was upside down. He's picking his way through the field at the moment. There's the last lap flag going out for number 5 going through. Here comes number 3, Hanson then with a big wheelie, wins race 2 here. Now the question is, can he win the 3rd and final race? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Incidentally, Ricky Priest came home in 5th place with a punctured rear wheel, deciding to take it easy rather than have the wheel break up. 18 there, and that of course is our old friend Rob Samways, whose handlebars now tight and strained. Oh, and there's our young lady. You get a more revealing look at her in our music sequence at the start and finish of this programme. Yes, indeed. It was an excellent weekend in more ways than one. So, as they shot off around the circuit then for the final race of the day, 118. This time Ricky Priest deciding that a win would be very nice to finish the day off with. So leaving the rest to battle through the dust here at this superb circuit at Dale in Wales. Number 1, Lee King then, with number 20 challenging him at the moment, David Lee from Hatton. Leapy, best known to his friends. And as the battles, there is the race leader, 118, Ricky Priest, the Midlander. Deciding, as I said, that 20 points will be better than less. 18 then with a straight set of handlebars at the moment. And he's battling at the moment, Rob Samways from Dorchester. Another Yamaha, no surprise. There is 2-race winner already here today, Greg Hanson, back in 2nd at the moment, having to eat the dust and the roost of the riders in front. Number 5, Graham Beale there with 62, Howard Stanfield going past him, so 1 place down for young Bealey. He'll to pick that up as we look further down the field. Number 70 there, and that's Anthony Dyer from Yatton. Another Yamaha. Well, what a surprise. These machines seem to be dominating the world of 4-stroke racing, and of course KTM now making a big comeback. 118, our race leader, Ricky Priest. He's out there, he's leading, making up for that puncher in race 2 and that 5th place. Greg Hanson, number 3, winner of race 1 and 2, having to sit back in 2nd at the moment to the younger man. And Greg from High Wycombe in Buckinghamshire, 18. Those bars look to be going down again. Rob Samways. We shouldn't keep picking on him. As number 3 comes through, Hanson then Second place, 17 points to go with the 220s he's already scored. That'll give him a total of 57 points as number 9 comes through there, and that is, of course, Tony Barnes from Minthorpe. And that's a Yamaha 400, one of last year's bikes. Number 21, Lee King there having a great little tussle with David Lee. I'm not sure who's going to get the better of that one. Lee King, of course, that big lanky frame of his with that trailing leg. Here's the checkered flag, and it's going to go out very nicely for 118 as he comes over the jump to complete the third MR Expert race here at Dale. Ricky Priest then at last gets vengeance on number 3, Greg Hansen, in the final race of the day. Nothing like waiting to the end to dish out the punishment. So Hansen, of course, the older of the two men. As number 70 comes through to complete the race. So despite losing that last race to Ricky Priest, Greg Hansen still took the overall. We caught up with event organiser, and that's, of course, Adam Hooper, and asked him about the future of this 4-stroke racing.
Motocross these days is actually making a bit of a resurgence. It's always been around, and 4-strokes in particular have always been around, but the way we've got the MR series going now, the 4-strokes really is becoming very high profile, and we're actually finding here today you will have seen actually some young riders who come straight from schoolboys onto 4-strokes, which is something that certainly wouldn't have happened a few years ago.
So as the Junior A's came down onto the line for their set of races here at Dale, all looking very pensive. It's a lovely bank holiday weekend, Sunday and Monday, 2 rounds of the series. We're, of course, looking at action from the Sunday round, 168. They're coming down onto the line. That's, of course, our old friend Chris Brown. So as the riders prepared to go out onto the start line for their first race, they were in for a little bit of a surprise. Holy ho. This was our new MR 15-second board girl. And just look at them for a pair of boobies. Yeah. It's not true that certain expert riders were jumping off their bikes, running back to the start line to get a second look, Mr. Hansen. So as the Junior A's got into their first one, it was 127 Brett Henson that continued his winning ways. He's shot off into the lead, continuing his form that we saw at the Oslebury track in Hampshire. 168, I think that is behind him. We'll get a better look as he goes around the corner at the number, not quite sure, but nevertheless, it's someone on a bit of a forward mission. 301 there, just going through, taking a roll off from his goggles. And according to my programme, that, of course, should have been Rob Foden. So there is Hansen. It was very dusty here on the Monday and on the Sunday. The circuit actually had been prepared at the very last minute because of not able to use the circuit at Telson. Sean Smith from the Judges Club had done a superb job of moving everything across here to Pembrokeshire. This man did a superb job. 127 there. Of course, it is Brett Henson. You can... Shall I do another lap, he says, just to show you how quick I really am? Certainly, you carry on, my son. Whoa! Now, that's not the way to finish a race. Holy smoke. Well, I think it was 135 who was the unfortunate recipient of that. But they both, needless to say, got back up on their bikes and carried on racing. You're supposed to take them out during the race, not at the end. Probably looking forward to seeing the 15-second board girl again. 261, that's Mr. Bevin, I think. Bevin Beeson, yeah, from Andover. He's going through there. I think he's the race leader at the moment. He's going quite rapidly for a Junior B rider. Now, you might be wondering, that says 99. You'd think that would be Craig Prattley. It might well be, but he shouldn't be out in this race if it is, because he's an expert. So there's a little bit of confusion, but I don't think it is Craig. Someone obviously on a borrowed machine. Not quite sure whom, incidentally. So as the rest of the field made their way around, we had a few other strange numbers out there as well in this Junior B race, which can certainly confuse the commentator, especially me. So as they battle at the front, 225 and 219. Well, that, of course, is Paul Coombs, and the other rider being, of course, John Stanley, 225. Whoa! 165 that was. Mark Gray trying to land, I think, on 260 at the time. Trying to get a piggyback. Someone here waiting for the race leader to come through, and there he is. 261 then takes the race. Bevin Beeson, according to my programme. Race 2 got underway, complete with the 15-second topless girl. You've never seen so many riders spend so much time at the start line, even when it wasn't their race. Junior A's 127 once again it is. Brett Henson that led them away. And this young man really in dominant form. Henson, I'm sure we'll see as an expert next year, but don't discount young Chris Brown. 175 there. He's going through, keeping a nice pace on the man in front, James Barrett. And James, of course, another lad from the Isle of Man. 109. Whoa, looking very, very serious about his racing at the moment. And that, of course, is Nigel Parker. So as the rest of the field gingerly made their way round the dusty track here. 103, almost getting himself into a problem there, Mark Taylor. 175, looks like Taylor's in second place at the moment, and the battles are on further down the field. 183 leading that group at the moment. Great scrap on here, it is. Can't fault that for racing, can you? That's Mark Kingdom, of course, 183. So a race win in the second Junior A race for that young man, Mr. Henson. Mr, I think we should definitely call him. 168 looks to have got the result. Second place then for him. Chris Brown, we just obviously spoke about Chris Brown. So Junior B, race 2, when they've finally managed to get themselves off the line with their eyes still in their sockets. Oh, as always, someone had been looking far too long at the young lady's rather proportional mammary glands, as they say. Fell off his bike going down the start straight. Serves him right for looking for too long. 151 in amongst that group there. And looking through my programme, according to this, that should be Howard Staves. Certainly this round at Dale will be remembered for certain things, and our 15-second board lady will be one of them. Adam Hooper, 185. What can we say about Adam? Except go a bit faster. 220, well, in time. 256. He's quicker than me at the moment. 256 there, Stephen Webb from Chard in Somerset on the KTM. Stephen going extremely well there. So as the battles were on further down the field, 112 amongst that group. As we take a look to find out exactly who that is, and according to my information, that should be Lee Shearing. Now Lee going well at the moment in this race. 263 looks to be all on his own at the moment. That's Charlie Kennelly. So a win then for Kevin Allen in race 3 here. Wrapping up the day quite nicely for him. 260 there, Craig Bauer. Well, the results in the Junior A's look like this. Henson took the over result, 3 wins from Chris Brown, James Barrett, Mark Kingdom and Wayne Partington. In the Junior B's, Lee Shearing, Rob Higgins, Mike Townsend, Jack Ithel and Paul Clark. Those were the top 5. And for those of you that didn't make it to Dale, this is what you missed. Never mind, come next year, she might do it again. So round 6 of the MR Thumpercross moved to Rangway in Somerset. Greg Hansen there, number 3, getting the whole shot on that grassy start line. Remember, this is where Greg had that very serious injury last year in the British Championship when he was hospitalised. Cut in his arm caused by his helmet peak right down to the bone, but he was going to retire after that, but after careful consideration he got back on the bike again. 68, Brian Wheeler there. Young Brian, I'll say that affectionately because he's certainly younger than me. Young Brian, the former Grand Prix rider and Grand Prix mechanic, showing that he still has what it takes to ride a bike, and it's nice to see him back on it. Ricky Priest there back on the Yamaha, making an unusual mistake at the bottom of that hill. As the rest of the field come through, but it's Wheeler from Craig Prattley, 99. First 2 at the moment. Looking back behind them, there is 4th place man Greg Hansen. So Hansen trying to force his way past the man in front to get on touch, or get in touch with those 2 in front. But who is it that leads this one through? And it's Craig Prattley finally finding his way past Brian Wheeler, the more experienced of the 2 riders, of course. Prattley, no stranger to winning championships. Did it in schoolboys, and at the moment he's on course to take the British 4-stroke championship. We won't talk too much about that, as it's the ACU one. There, of course, is Stuart Penny, number 4. Stuart finding that number 4 plate getting tougher and tougher to hang on to for another year, as Prattley just charged his way through. Wheeler still behind him, letting the younger man get away, and Hansen trying to close down on 2nd place man before the checkered flag goes out. Oh, somebody else taking a big tumble there. I can't quite sure who that is. That looks like 28. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be Andrew Young if it is. He's still taking a good old clout with the post. Here, here's Greg Hansen then. Number 3 on the bike. He takes the checkered flag in race 1, although the finisher didn't quite realise it at the time. So there you are, the commentator. That sounds like Ron Calloway. I might be wrong, but Ron Calloway. Sounds like Ron's dulcet tones. Second expert race. Lee King has got a great start there. Stuart Penny right behind him. So King, the defending champion, number 1. Oh, we've got 1 or 2 falling over each other on the first corner. That's nothing unusual. But who's going to get the all-important first lap? And it's Hansen from King. Looks like Brian Wheeler. Ricky Priest is there, back behind Craig Prattley. Then Stuart Penny in 65 was also back behind that group as well. And that, according to my information, should be old Carl Belfield. Another lad that's come out of schoolboy racing straight into four-stroke racing, which is nice to see. Oh, not quite sure who that was, legs akimbo, but he managed to hang on to it. But here's the battle at the front. It's Wheeler chasing Greg Hansen at the moment. Looking back behind Wheeler, that could be Prattley. Then it was King. Oh, a great race between these experts. Oh, that's cruel luck for someone. Number 6 there. That looks like a rear wheel failure for Fred Sparks from Aberdeen in Oxfordshire. No failures for that man at the moment. Number 3, Greg Hansen. As I said last year, on the point of retiring. He actually announced his retirement, but then changed his mind, which would be a shame to lose Greg from racing. He still enjoys being out there on the track. So Prattley it is there at the moment that's taken the lead. Hansen back to second place, and that's how it stayed to the checkered flag. Race 3 then, I think, onto the line. And it's Hansen once again that took the all-important first corner. Lee King also amongst that group as they set off around this hilly circuit. Wheeler, another good ride from Brian. It's great to see Spud back on the bike, but there was no catching him. Hansen it was that led them away. Chasing Hansen in second place, Nathan James on the Car World Yamaha. Nathan, another young up-and-coming rider who's making his mark in four-stroke racing. Prattley, however, took the overall from Hansen, James Wheeler and Howard Stanfield. So now it was the turn of the Junior A's. What could they do around this superb circuit here at Rangway? 168 there on the inside of the track. Mr. Consistent, indeed he is, Chris Brown. Chris may not be winning all the races, but he sure is scoring consistent points. The man behind him, 127, well, of course, Brett Henson, who has been one of the quickest lads out there this year. But Henson dropping a few points at previous rounds. Battles right down through the field between the different riders. Obviously different levels of experience out there. 104 there goes through, trying to complete another lap. That's Andrew Milner, or Miller, we should say. So the second Junior A race got off the line again. Look out for 127, Brett Henson squeezed in amongst the pack there. He'll have to work hard if he wants to get to the front. Whoa, someone almost got it wrong there. Well, he did indeed, and just caused a little M25 pile-up. Well, it's pretty normal in junior racing. It's the lemming scenario. One falls off, they all want to join in. Well, they picked their bikes back up again. No one injured. Everybody got back underway. Looks like 139 was amongst that falling group, and he's okay. Back on the bike. Chris Brown led them through, but it was 127, Brett Henson, that came through to take the second race win. He's a rider to be reckoned with, that's for sure. So, Junior A race 3 on the line. Can Henson make it a hat-trick of wins? Winner of race 1, winner of race 2. Can he take race 3? As they headed off across the far side of the circuit, and it was Henson that set about powering that Yamaha into the lead. That's where he stayed, right through to the checkered flag. Chris Brown kept on chasing on the 168 bike. So indeed, our friend from the Isle of Man on the 175 bike. James Barrett but they couldn't do anything about the supremacy of the man in front. He really was in a class of his own, Brett Henson. So Henson, blistering pace at the front. Certainly an expert for next year for sure. Let's see how he can get on when he has to race against the likes of Greg Hansen and company. 168 then, second place for the man working hard, Chris Brown, as the rest of the field just were left to pick up the remaining points as number 100 went through there on his way to pick up some useful points. And that, of course, was Wayne Partington. So Henson, Brown, Meredith, Barrett and Martin Harris rounded out the top 5. So the Junior Bs now. This is really a bit of a throw of the dice race with these guys on a track like this. You're not quite sure who indeed's going to make it round the first corner. Well, they almost all did. One or two of them stopping to tend to the grass. Well, I'm not quite sure whose young lady that is. She's got a very nice rear bumper, as they would say. Trying to be as polite as possible about that, but I'm sure you out there have got your own conclusions. And I'm sure you all know whose wife or girlfriend it may have been. Adam Hooper here, MR Seals kit man himself, powering that bike around the track. Should get him on a Yamaha, I think. Probably will go a little faster. Mind you, still quicker than me. So, Junior Bs there enjoying their racing as they always do. And the man out front was 711. Looked to be the man that was pretty quick around here. That was Paul Sparky Clark. Graham Lovell there, 115, but the result went to Sparky Clark. Lee Powells, Kevin Wakeham, Alan Deere and Lee Shearing rounds out the top 5 here at Rangway. Well, round 8 of the MR Thumper Series moved to Marshfield. Originally meant to be at Chippenham, but apparently they lost the track at the last moment. The two Roys of Coolgrove MCC moved everything down to the West Country. They loaned a Stargate, and the experts came to the line for the first of their 3 races. The weather had been wet all week, but it dried out, and the sun had come out for this Sunday. So we're on for some great racing. Number 11, Ricky Priest, on the newer 520cc KTM, a little bit more powerful than the 400 that he'd raced through most of the season. So Ricky, of course, a favourite possibly to take the win here. Nathan James, number 2 on that familiar 426 Yamaha. Greg Hansen behind him. There was Prattley, also Priesty and Lee King. Brian Wheeler was in there as well. So we're on for a corker of 3 expert races here. This track, of course, owned and maintained by Mike Church from Holt JC. Well, I should say for MJ Church, the Kawasaki team, sponsored by Holt JCB. So Mike, with his lad Tom Church on Grand Prix 125 duty this year, and in other riders having a crack at the 250 Grand Prix. So thanks must be given to Mike Church for the use of the circuit. But the lads here at the Coolgrove Club did an absolute fantastic job of relocating the circuit down here to Marshfield. 4 points. 99, Craig Prattley then, with Ricky Priest on that 520 KTM right behind him. Obviously hadn't had time to dial in the rear suspension on that bike because it's bouncing around all over the place. As the rest of the field came through, Stuart Penny there, number 4, chasing down the number 7 bike, one of many of David Dunn. So the track here really doing great, playing host to this MR Thumpercross round at the very last moment. Ricky Priest, 520 machine, showing Craig Prattley that it's got just a bit extra in the cylinders than the 426 Yamaha behind him. So Priesty now led it. Craig Prattley, former British 2-stroke schoolboy rider, former British Championship 2-stroke rider, decided to move over to 4 strokes, and like Ricky Priest, has taken to them like a duck to water. So the battle was on between these 2 ex-schoolboys. Priest led it at the moment on the KTM. Number 11, 99, Craig Prattley there, right behind him, edging for a chance to get past. Could the 426 Yamaha match the 520cc of that KTM in front? And KTM at the moment enjoying a very successful season at world class. Stuart Penny on his slightly modified 426 Yamaha, finding life up front here this season a little harder than before, but Stuart nevertheless still going well. with his duties as MR race coordinator. Does the fine job, gets everything well organised. So it wasn't long before Craig Prattley found a way past the 520 KTM of Ricky Priest. He was to finish third in this race. 68 Brian Wheeler, he was to finish second, but the man that took the result in race one was, of course, on the 99 bike, Craig Prattley. So as the experts came back onto the line for their second race of the day, Greg Hansen there, who had finished fourth in race one, as they waited for the gate to drop, and it did. Away they went. Who was going to get the all-important first corner? Oh, Craig Prattley was there, and I think was on course to take it. There indeed he was. Craig Prattley, 99. Hansen behind him in second place. The battle was on between the master and the apprentice, as they would say. Hansen, former British 125 winner, of course, and former New Zealand champion as well. Former British four-stroke champion. I don't think Greg Hansen will ever stop racing, you know. Well, Ken Hansen hasn't. There's Ricky Priest, number 11. Priesty at the moment in this one, looking to get past the men in front. Carl Belfield was also up in the running on this one. So was Kingy and Nathan James. But the battle was on at the front. Craig Prattley on the Yamaha, fending off the machine behind him of Greg Hansen. On the number 3 bike, Hansen, a former winner of this championship, lost it last year after that injury he picked up at the British Championship. Priesty back in third place. Then the battles were on between Belfield, Wheeler and all the rest, all vying for those extra points, but it was Craig Prattley who was refusing to give way to the pressure of Greg Hansen, the man behind him. Looking back behind Hansen for third, it was still the 520 number 11 bike, the orange KTM of Ricky Priest. But there was no catching that man, 99 Craig Prattley. He was on a roll. Winner of race one, looking to win race two. Priesty, in the meantime, had moved up into second place. Wheeler was up into third. Hansen had dropped down to fourth place. There is Brian Wheeler. So it was beginning to come together as the rest of the field came through, scrapping for those precious positions and, of course, the points. And what do points make? Prizes, as always. Craig Prattley, then, the winner of race two, to go with his win from race one. So race three onto the line. Was Prattley going to be able to do this again? The gate dropped. Who was going to get the all-important first corner? And it looked like Hansen. Greg Hansen on the number 3 bike, a clear run into that corner. Hansen was away with this. Greg still on Yamaha at the moment. That was Wheeler behind him, number 68. Brian lost none of his old speed. Somebody there lost a bit of his speed. Can't see who that was, but got it started again and got back into the race. Wheeler now. And I think Wheeler has gone past Hansen for second place. He has indeed. So Hansen dropping back, surprisingly, to Brian Wheeler. And there he is. And there's Hansen back into third. He's now got Ricky Priest behind him. So Priest a second in race two and a third in race one. Brian Wheeler looking all the dominant man at the moment amongst those three. Probably not with the same level of fitness those guys behind him have got, but Brian's a determined old boy and was not going to give up that position too quickly, despite the more youthful ages of the two men behind him. I'm not quite sure about Greg Hansen in that equation, mind you. Wheeler, Hansen, Priest, the younger of the three. And Ricky going for this on the 520 KTM. Number 2 there. Nathan James with the defending champion Lee King, number 1 behind him. A battle in its own there. And here they come again. Nathan James trying to stave off the attentions of the man behind, Lee King. Prattley had a problem getting that bike of his started in race 3 and was way down the field now. This was the race for the lead. Wheeler had it. Priest was behind him in second place. Hansen was back in third. And look at Priest, he's having a look at it. And I think he's got through, indeed he has. Ricky Priest now goes into the lead here, race 3. Can he hang on to it to the end? Or will Brian Wheeler find a way past. Probably those limbs are beginning to ache a little bit now, aren't they, Brian? If you're watching this. But the skill of the former Grand Prix rider certainly in full abundance. There is Lee King. Has he got past Nathan James or not? I don't think he has. Stuart Penny still keeping the bike going nicely and still in with the top point scoring position here. So it was Ricky Priest that took the overall result in the end from Wheeler, Craig Pratley, Hanson and Lee King, top 5. So now the junior A's on the line. Keep an eye out for 127, Brett Henson, as they... well, you can't make the track any wider on the first corner, can you? Who is it that was going to get the all-important first corner? 139 looks to have got away in the lead, and that should be David White. 130 there behind him at the moment, that's Craig Williamson. So we were looking for that 127 bike as the rest of the field battled through on their familiar charges up the field to get some maximum points before the end of the race. And there he is, Brett Henson, with that distinctive red MR top on. The man that's been doing so much winning over the series, but don't forget that Chris Brown on that bike behind him. Very, very close Chris Brown is to him at the moment. Henson can't really sit back on his laurels and consider that he's got this one in the bag. Chris, of course, on the 168 bike. But Henson, Brett Henson, it is at the moment that leads them through. There he is. Henson from Chris Brown in second place. Young Priestley back in third at the moment. It's a close race for the positions as they come through. Each rider vying for that little piece of track to move him up a position. And these 168 just going through there, Chris Brown. 218, I think that is behind him at the moment. And that, of course, should be our old friend Darren Harvey. So as the field began to thin out just a little bit, 258, Daniel Turner. And the man behind him at the moment, 268, Ian Scrivens from Loxwood, West Sussex. So Ian having a good little race out there at the moment as the rest of the field found their way through over the jumps and the bumps here. 150 there, that's of course Simon Rawson's only been riding the MR Thumpercross for 3 years. He's doing quite well. So junior A's then, Brett Henson, 3 straight wins from Chris Brownie and Meredith, Tony Priestley and Mark Kingdom, top 5. So now time to take a look at the junior B's. Yes, guys, it's your turn. Who's going to make the first corner? Let's hope you're all standing up at the end of it. 200, that's Luke Lush from Hampshire. Oh, here we go. Fully over each other time. What did you park your bike there for, you nit, he says. Yeah, let's just turn it off, shall we, guys? I can't actually see who that is. It looks like 200 and something, but I'm sure you know who you are. But you're on television, as they say. Well, they both got up again, I think, and got back into the race, so they were okay. So as the rest of the riders set about trying to catch the man in front, who was Luke Lush on that first corner. Looking down through the field. Yes, you're all in there somewhere. 224 out there at the moment, going very well. That's Darren Smith from West Sussex, 256 there. And then, of course, Kevin Allen from Vista. So it was Ian Scrivens, however, took the overall result. Lee Shearing, Kevin Allen, Alan Deere, Jack Ithell, top 5. Well, it's a big warm welcome here to Brittany and Saint-Brieuc in France with the MR Thumpercross boys as they decide to take a little bit of an international outing. And the weather here was absolutely gorgeous for this time of the year, quite unusual, and the track, well, very normal of a French circuit, up and down hills. And we took this chance to strap an onboard camera to our friend number 4, Stuart Penny, as Stuart took us for a trip around this spectacular circuit. of the big downhill drop-offs. For one young man, Brian Spud Wheeler, practice had proved to be a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, it was a technical hiccup at the top of the hill that caused it. Going through from first to second, I managed to find neutral, and consequently lost my drive when I went to leap off the top. And then for a while, that's all I remember. It was a typical French track, you know, up and down the banks. And funnily enough, I actually said to one of the riders I come with, now go steady, lads, because I've been to these French tracks before.
Yeah.
Go steady in practice. Because I've seen a lot of people come off in practice because they're not used to the track. And
Good advice there then.
yeah, should have took some myself.
Well, despite that tumble, Brian was okay, but didn't race. And we're going to take a look at 3 races from the main event here today, the Trophy de la Ville de Saint-Brieuc. And here we go, race 1 on the line, and they're into that first corner. One or two are already having a problem getting around that first corner. A real mixture here of MR Thumpercross boys on the 4 strokes, and of course the French lads, some of them on 2 strokes. But it was Greg Hansen, the former British 4-stroke champion and British 125 2-stroke champion, that led them away. And as you can see, the conditions extremely dusty. Very unusual weather for this time of the year. Normally it's quite overcast here, usually rains, but it was very hot. But it was Hansen that led them away. Second behind him, the Frenchman Sébastien Rabet, number 21. Then number 9, that was Sébastien Marion. And then number 7, Gregory Strujon. And number 5 there, that's Graham Beale, one of the MR boys. Keep an eye out for number 2, Nathan James. He'll be in there as well. But Hansen it was that was showing a clean set of wheels to everybody else, as the 2 French lads on the 2 strokes were battling for second place up the big hills here. James wasn't too far behind that little group and beginning to close in on the guys in front. But Hansen clearly away at the front, loving the conditions. That Greg said after practice, he loved the track. So 21 still second behind him, the French lad, Rabet. Then, we had a rider through there on the inside, and that was Nathan James, I think, number 2. But here's Hansen down that very big hill. That was the one that Brian Wheeler crashed on earlier in the day in practice. Believe you me, the Frenchmen, obviously, they're getting a lot of encouragement from the local crowd on the Honda. So 2-stroke versus 4-stroke power at the moment. Number 9 up into 3rd place, Sébastien Marion. As we look further down the field, and there is the 2nd Brit, 4th place for Nathan James. Number 5, Graham Beale, still in there, but Hansen, look how he launches that 426 Yamaha off that treacherous downhill over that 2nd little jump. Halfway down. These hills were so steep you could not walk up or down them unaided, so it gives you some idea of how difficult it was to ride the circuit. But this young man certainly having a whale of a time. Hansen from the Frenchman still in 2nd place, and here comes James, number 2, Nathan James, up into 3rd place, puts number 7 Gregory Strujon down to 4th. But Hansen really indeed had it well and truly sewn up. He took the result in race 1. Nathan James came through to pinch 2nd place on the line from number 21, the Frenchman Sébastien Rabet, and the crowd thoroughly enjoyed that one. So race 2 coming down onto the line here in Saint-Brieuc in Brittany in France. Here we go. Can Hansen get the whole shot again? He did it in race 1. So as they head round the corner, oh, we've got somebody in trouble there, number 52 being one of them, and that's Kerry Pallo. Can't see who the rider is that's on the floor. I suspect it's one of the French lads, but it's Hansen again that has pulled away at the front. Conditions very dusty, and the best way to deal with the conditions is to lead. It's the Brit, 2nd place then for Nathan James. It was the Frenchman, number 27, André Bernard, in 3rd place, and number 7 there, Strujon, having to eat the dust of the man that finished 3rd in race 1, Rabet, fellow Frenchman. So the 2 Brits at the moment on the 4 strokes, number 3, then number 2, Nathan James, showing a clear pair of tyres to the French lads behind them on the 2 strokes. And as you can see, the dust, well, it was a problem, but our 2 lads weren't having much of a problem with it. They were out in front, left for the rest to eat the dust and the roost from the 2 leaders. So it's Hansen, and look at James climbing all over the former 4-stroke champion Greg Hansen really having his work cut out here, but he didn't put up for that for very long, I can tell you. Nathan James made a bit of a slip coming into the end of this race. He let Greg Hansen get away again. But young James certainly a force to be reckoned with in the future as far as four-stroke racing is concerned. There he is, only a young lad from South Wales. Rides with the Car World sponsors with his bike, the Yamaha 426, but it's a Yamaha that leads this second race down towards the finish. That's Greg Hansen. Nathan James, number 2, still back there behind him. Really can't do anything about the dominance of the master in front. And as Hansen began to pick his way past the slower riders, number 64 there, that's Darren Osborne from England. Hansen came through to take his second win of the day here in Saint-Brieuc in France. Nathan James chased him home in second place. So it was all about the last race of the day. Could James beat Hansen? And Hansen was having problems with the engine in race 2. So it was a really dramatic start into that first corner. The dust, as you can see, and, well, there were problems all over the track. Number 41 there, and that was Gary Morrison, decided to lay a little trap for the rest of the French riders, and they all fell into it. But Nathan James this time had decided he wanted to win the last race of the day. Greg Hansen had had problems with the engine, changed engines during the interval for the third race, but the engine he'd put in the bike wasn't as good. 41 back on his bike again. Gary Morrison looking to set another trap to catch a few more Frenchmen, but Hansen had decided he'd like to make it a hat-trick of wins. Nathan James decided perhaps he'd like to win it instead, and these two went once again neck and neck, corner to corner through the dust. The pit ball goes out then for number 20 there, and that's Dave Lee. His girlfriend there, Libby, but the result in the end went to number 2, Nathan James. He took the final race here at Saint-Brieuc at this MR Thumpercross International. It was a great bit of racing. Greg Hansen came home in second place, so 2 into the second. That put Greg certainly on the top of the rostrum at the end of the day. Well, from the International here, we moved on to the MR 4-stroke only. Round 2 this is. Here it's Saint-Brieuc, and you'll recognise the riders that aren't English. They're the ones that don't wear the MR bibs. Just thought I'd mention that. The local Frenchman Patrice Adam with fellow Frenchman Marshall Brians were really starting to set the old race alight here. Keep an eye out for James Barrett as well, Nigel Parker, Wayne Parton. They were having a good race. But as they made their way down Penny Drop, as we call it here, named after Stuart Penny. 100 there, Wayne Partington leading it, but it wasn't long before the Frenchman went past him. Patrice Adam. Bit of another new sort of convert to 4-stroke racing. There's Marshall Briard caught in amongst all those British lads. Oh, you can see what I mean about those hills. You make a mistake coming down one of those and there's only one place to go, and that's on your head, your bottom, your head. You sort of kind of see ground, sky, ground, sky. If you don't believe me, ask Brian Wheeler or Stuart Penny. They'll tell you exactly what it's like to go down one of those hills on your butt and on your head and on your, you know what I mean. Yeah, I'm sure you've been there before, in one way or another. So 100 Partington back in second place, but it was this man, the Frenchman, Patrice Adam, that held off the Brits. All 4-stroke race this, unlike our international earlier, which had a few 2-strokes in it. But the battles were on further down. 105 there, that's Dave Stone from Bristol. And here comes the man that's going to win race 1. The Frenchman clearly out in front. You're not going to stop Patrice Adam. Wayne Partington under pressure now from 175. James Barrett, the Jersey-based rider, as the rest of them just played catch-up to this young man. Certainly has taken to 4-stroke racing, and of course, the MR boys, this is their second trip to France this year. First one, of course, at Plouon in Normandy, but Wayne Partington holding off the attentions of the Frenchman, but he's gone through. Marshall Brians going through into second place. Partington down now to third. But it's going to be a win then for Patrice Adam. Celebrates with a wheelie, a one-handed wheelie that is. Smarty pants. It wouldn't look so good if he'd have fallen off, would he? French crowd here enthralled with the racing. They're loving their four-stroke stuff. So the second race onto the line here. This is the MR Thumpercross International. Can number 23, Patrice Adam, do it again? Oh, got a good start. I was just about to say they were all safely through, but should not have done that, should I? Two there firmly wedged in the tyres. Let me up, I want to get through. Can't see who they are. But it's the Frenchman, number 23. I think that's led them away again. It's an MR Thumpercross boy back second, third and fourth. Number 9 there, taking a bit of a tumble. He's out of this one, I think, and that's, of course, Tony Barnes. So it's 23 then that leads this second race of this MR Thumpercross International from St Briard here in Brittany. Weather conditions could not have been better. Unusual for this time of the year, apparently. Normally they get quite a lot of rain. In fact, we could have done with some of that to keep the dust down. But they did do a gallant job of trying to keep the dust at bay by the local fire brigade hosing down the track, but it was a bit of a lost cause, to be perfectly honest. But nevertheless, everybody was enjoying the racing, that was for sure. Big crowd had turned out. So down the hill, once again, the 23 bike of Patrice Adam. And every time he came past the start and finish straight, he did a wheelie. Cocky little sod. 36 in second place there. I got good reason to be, I suppose. Davy Watts, that was. Davy Watts then chasing second place. As the rest of the riders picked their way past, well, the red flag went out to stop this second race, and that was the reason why. They'd watered the hill and made it slightly impassable for some of our lesser riders. And we had a bit of a French roadblock, and they certainly know all about those, don't they? Roadblocks, that is. So the restart then of race 2 after that little incident on the hill. Now, could the number 23 bike, the Frenchman of Patrice Adam, do it again on the restart? Or was one of our British lads going to get the better of him? Well, the answer quite simply to that was no. This boy absolutely dominant here at the moment. I'd like to see him racing in England next year in the expert class against the likes of Greg Hansen and Craig Prattley and Ricky Priest. So as the crowd settled down, and then there were one or two rather nice looking French young ladies around, we got race 3 underway. Could he do it again? Patrice Adam, he led them away. Second, third and fourth were occupied by Brits. We kept on a watchful eye for Marshal Briands, the second of the top French riders, but this young man was unstoppable, uncatchable and unbeatable. There was nothing more you could say about the dominance of this young Frenchman. Adapting to four-stroke riding, even though the circuit here, as you can see, was a little bit dusty to say the least. If you didn't gallop out in front, you were in deep trouble. It wasn't much fun with the camera either. But there he is. Young Frenchman, Patrice Adam. Well, hard luck for 162. Out of this race with a mechanical failure. Mick Caulfield, ex-Hampshire footballer, got injured in '97, decided to take up a safer sport. Motocross? Who's he kidding? Actually four-stroke racing. So the third of the international races here. Patrice Adam, the Frenchman, leading it from 102 in second place there at the moment. 102, Chris Taylor. Watsy is back there behind him in third, but look at the French crowd. Well, they know they've got a winner on their hands. He's done it twice already with a wheelie to celebrate. So Patrice Adam finally wins the third race of the day. Watsy came home in second place and Chris Taylor third. So there are the trophies from the club here. It was a splendid weekend away. I'm looking forward to next year. I hope you are too. Well, after a superb weekend at St Briard, down-to-earth boys back in England, Farley Castle, the Westmilts Club here hosting this 9th round of this MR Thumpercross Series. Expert Race 1 on the line. Ricky Priest on the 520 KTM, getting the whole shot. Oh, Priesty just showing how quick that bike is. Now, for those of you out there thinking this is Farley, the Grand Prix circuit, no, it's not. Wish it was, but this is the track that gets used by the youth riders during the course of the season. But nevertheless, still a very, very good circuit within its own right. Close and quick racing on a natural scramble track. Very grassy. Very few man-made jumps and bumps here. Ricky Priest it is, number 11. Behind him at the moment, well, I think that was Craig Prattley. Didn't quite get a glimpse of the number, but certainly the style was looking that way. Hanson was also in there as well, but there is Ricky Priest, leading Expert Race 1. The man behind him is indeed Craig Prattley. Greg Hanson should be back there somewhere in 3rd spot. Phil Mercer, factory fill out in this race as well. Well, I hope we don't get another one of his Superman get-offs like we had 2 years ago. There is Hanson, and Priesty dropping back now to 3rd place. Craig Prattley has taken the checkered flag. Hanson through to 2nd place, and Priest in 3rd. Phil Mercer, incidentally, was 4th. Nathan James and Lee King rounding out that top 5 of Race 1. Race 2 then, off the line. Who's going to get the all-important first corner? Looks like Hanson. Priesty behind him. Lee King back there in 3rd place. This is the battle for the lead. Stuart Penny, number 4, going through as the rest of the field, well, fall over each other, as they did just there. Well, number 12 doesn't seem to know what to do with his... What's he doing? Simon Deering? Oh, I don't know. Gets back on it, falls off it again. Did it for the camera. Anyway, here's the man that's always doing it for the camera, Greg Hanson. Ricky Priest, 2nd place. Then it was Kingy, then number 7 there, David Dunn. But Greg Hanson was in absolute dominant form. Look at the speed around the corners. If you want to win, that's how quick you've got to go. Lee King going through as the rest were playing catch-up here in race 2. Lee King, the defending champion. Oh, what are you doing, Mr. Craig Prattley? And that's no time to do a donut. You haven't won the race yet. And young Craig showing that he can have a bit of fun out there as well. Race 2 then. And Craig Prattley, despite doing a donut, started to push his way to the front and soon went into the lead to take race 2 win. Nathan James was 2nd, but the over result went to Prattley with Phil Mercer in 5th. So now the Junior A's here from this Farley Castle circuit. Who's going to get the all-important first corner? 218, Darren Harvey. Looks to have got it at the moment. Keep an eye out for that 127, Brett Henson. And 168. 2 lads that are certainly not hanging around in this series. Chris Brown. So as they disappear up the far side of the circuit, who's going to get the all-important first corner, 2nd corner, and lead it? Still 8 to 218 at the moment that has it. So Darren Harvey going well at the moment. We're looking back behind him for that 127 bike. There's 139. I don't see him at the moment, so I'm sure he's there somewhere. But nevertheless, the racing was good. Darren Harvey went on to take the overall from Chris Brown, Wayne Partonen, Mark Kingdom and Nigel Parker. It would seem like Mr. Henson wasn't around in that one. So it's a big welcome here to Sturminster Marshall in Dorset in England for this final round of this year's MR Seals Kit Thumpercross Series. Remember, it's an all 4-stroke series. We're going to have a look at the 3 expert races. This is race 1. The battle is on for the championship between number 3, Greg Hanson, and of course number 99, and that is the now newly crowned British 4-stroke champion, Craig Prattley. But it's Greg Hanson that leads them away in this first expert race. Hanson, a change of machinery. He's on the KTMs now. Of course, KTM, the winners of this year's World 500cc Motocross Championship in the hands of Joel Smets. There is, of course, Stuart Penny, number 4. He is the event organiser, the race series organiser. He was here last year battling for that number 4 plate. I'm not so sure whether he'll retain it for this year, but there is Craig Prattley, number 99, from Finstock in Oxfordshire. Craig, soon to be married, leads the series coming here today. That's the man that won it back in 1998, wanted to take the plate back this year, but he's had a lot of problems with that, with the bike, changing from Yamaha to KTM and back again. But Hansen still one of the most senior riders here in this series, former British 125 champion, former British 4-stroke champion, former New Zealand champion as well. But Prattley it is that's going to come through to take the win in race 1. Hansen dropping back to 2nd place, so 20 points to 17. Well, the scenery, as you can see here, Sturminster Marshall, typical of the Dorset countryside. Very beautiful. Weather was a little overcast. There is Craig Prattley, number 9, the man beside him at the moment, and that, of course, is Tony Barnes. There is number 4, Stuart Penny, as we said, as we look down the line. There is Greg Hansen, number 3, with Nathan James right beside him, number 2. Number 1 there, that's the defending champion, Lee King. Looks like he's going to lose that number 1 plate for this year. So as they make themselves ready for the 2nd expert race, remember Prattley a winner of race 1. Hansen has led away yet again, as he did in race 1. Prattley is back in 2nd place. The battles are on further down. There is Nathan James, number 2. Young Nathan. Almost off Nathan. Bit of a convert to this 4-stroke racing. A lot of young lads, schoolboys in particular, coming out of the 2-stroke class into 4-stroke racing now. But here's the battle for the lead. It's Craig Prattley chasing that number 3 bike of Greg Hansen. So Prattley looking very much assured that he could well take the series this year. Number 17 back in 3rd place, Gary Woolham that is. But the battle is on at the lead. But of course 99, Craig Prattley doesn't have to win each race here today. He has enough points advantage to stay where he is and take the crown for this year 2000. Someone on the floor there, not sure who it is, as once again Greg Hansen comes around to complete another lap, still being chased by the youngster Craig Prattley. Craig, as I said earlier, now the newly crowned British 4-stroke champion. Remember, there are 2 series of this 4-stroke category running here in the UK. There's the British series, which of course is sanctioned by the governing body, the ACU, and there is the MR Seals Kit series, which is a specialist series, which is this one. And if you ask me which is the better of the 2, well, I really wouldn't like to make a comment. Oh, Stuart Penny there with the front wheel sliding away. He's stalled the bike. Penny will have to kick up that 426 Yamaha into life again. He has indeed, finds a gear, off he goes. Stuart, it's not been the best of years for Stuart, but nevertheless, still enjoying his racing. Here is Hansen. He's going to take the 2nd race win, I think. Yes, indeed. Craig Prattley, I think, will chase him home in 2nd place. And here comes Craig. So the points are mounting up. 17 points of Craig, 20 from race 1. This should be enough to give him the crown. So there he is, race 2 winner from High Wycombe. Runs Hansen Racing, very well known and distinguished rider, Greg Hansen. Here we go, race 3 then. Who's going to get the all-important hole shot? Looks like number 3, Hansen's done it again. 99, Prattley on the inside of him. Number 14 was also there, lurking. That's Jason Fountain, incidentally, another lad from High Wycombe. But it's Greg Hansen that leads them through. Number 8 is the man behind him in 2nd place, Simon Wise. Now Simon, of course, the 97 MR champion. Bit of a change of machinery this year for him. Onto the Yamahas. Used to ride the CCMs religiously for many years. Nathan James and the young lad from South Wales riding so well. There's Lee King. Lee battling at the moment to try and regain some points. That number 1 plate definitely slipping away from him. Back in about 4th in the championship at the moment, and I don't really think he's going to progress any further than that. But this young man, number 99, Craig Prattley, on course to lift this MR Seals Kit crown for this year 2000. There is Hansen on the KTM. Greg normally rides the Yamaha 426s, but he's had a change. Nathan James on the Carwold Yamaha behind him. Here comes Greg Hansen. So many things have been said about this man in the past, but he really is a super rider. Went into retirement last year, but decided that the racing bug had got too much of him, and he wanted to get back on the bike. Here he is. He's going to take race 3 of the day here at Sturminster Marshall. Nathan James chased him home all the way in this 3rd race for 2nd place. But the overall result went to number 3, Greg Hansen. 2 wins and the 2nd place, 57 points. But it wasn't enough to secure the championship. There it is, Craig Prattley, 590. from Hanson, Nathan James, Lee King and Brian Wheeler rounded out the top 5. But there is your champion. So Junior A race yet to be concluded as far as the champion is concerned. Brett Henson here to race at the final round. So of course Chris Brown on the 168 bike, so it's very much between those two for the championship title of Junior A's. We've seen the experts settle, Craig Prattley being crowned the new MR Thumpercross champion for this year, and also the British four-stroke champion. So Craig having a tremendous year. But these Junior A's still got it all to do around this superb track here, laid out by the man himself, Graham Stevenson. Worked so hard to get this track into great condition. Well, the racing certainly very exciting. And these Junior A's going for it. 228 there. And that's Dougal Cullen from Aylesbury on a bike that had its better days, I think, back in the 50s. Now, it's unfair to Dougal. He rides that bike so well, considering it's not one of the latest Yamahas or Husqvarnas. There's 127 without his red vest on, of course, Brett Henson. So there's Dougal Cullen, 228. 168 there, of course, the man that's trying to take that championship, Chris Brown from Western Supermare. And Chris at the moment looking on course to be crowned Junior A champion for this year. Brett Henson dropping points at some of the other rounds that we haven't seen, but Chris Brown certainly Mr. Consistent. Well, Henson going through to take the race win, but it wasn't enough because Chris Brown was declared the winner. Henson second, Mark Kingdom, Ian Meredith and James Barrett from the Isle of Man rounded out the top 5. Into the Junior B's this time, and they were still battling for the championship. Plenty left to do for these guys as they made their way very gingerly around that slippery top grassy corner. That's half the pace that the experts come round there, but you would expect that for the Junior B's, the class that I ride in. It's better to go home in one piece. Oh, Adam Hooper, back from his endeavours, 3-month ride around America. Obviously finding it a little difficult to readjust to British soil there. So Adam, great job you did for charity, well done. Hoping that we'll see some of that footage sometime in the near future. 268 leading this round at the moment. And that, of course, is Ian Scrivens. As the rest of the riders playing catch-up to the man in front. There he is, Ian. But despite Ian Scrivens coming through to take the race win, he didn't take the Junior B Championship. That was taken by Lee Sheeran, Jack Ithall. Ian Scrivens finally finished third. Luke Lush and Alan Deere, top 5 for this year. Well, for those of you that did miss that round at Dale in Pembrokeshire, this is what you were missing. Hopefully she'll be back next year. So will I. From myself, Kenny Kay. See you then.